Greetings, everybody. It's RPG Grandma. You can subscribe to me on Twitter too if you want. Um, okay, so there were some questions about the malicious mana muncher and how it could be used or presented in a role playing game as a form of security or tracking animal. So, here's some things to think about. Obviously, the stats and everything I went over in Monday's video, the last video, was for when you find roaming around. Just your generic adult mana muncher. And as it was presented in the that particular book. So, things to think about. First of all, think about domestic animals. Are you going, and animals in general, are you going to have the mana munchers be something that is natively occurring in the wilds that occasionally people grab younger versions of and raise? All right, so they're capturing it out there, and it really isn't a domestic version of it. An example of that would be, say, the cheetahs on the walls of ancient tombs that were kept as pharaoh's pets, okay? Or baboons used as guard dogs in ancient Egypt. Very good example. Baboons are scary as guard dogs, by the way. So they were trained, and they worked with their version of, the law. The guys are going to come arrest you in ancient Egypt. So, which, by the way, you could do that in your game. You could have, monkey police units. Yes. But the point being is they may have been breeding them. They probably did, You get some boys, get some girls, then you can start training them really young, and it's way easier than, like, killing a baboon troop to get one or two babies, So, that's how domestication happens, right? So, obviously, for some reason, I don't know why they stopped using baboons that way, but they also had dogs and everything else. So this is a similar thing. Just because you have dogs in your game doesn't mean you can't have domestic mana munchers, munching up stuff, right? Mooching away and munching at everyone's magical items. But it comes down to how you want to use them. Do you want to use them like the alligators in the moat motif? Like, you got the inner sanctum surrounded by, these rooms, that hallways that the munching mana guys are on patrol, and whoever lives, up in that tower just doesn't, or in that room doesn't want magic getting in there, or are they actually trained? And even the ones on patrol might be trained to a certain degree, much like you have ones in the zoo that are, certain time of day, or when a certain sound goes off, they know that they're supposed to go into their the cage area, the inside area, not the outside exhibit area, and get their food and go to sleep and whatnot. So then the keepers can come in and clean the area. So these are things to think about in your design if you're going to use them as more of part of a security thing. Now, you also have to decide how they are controlled. Is it all physical force and positive reward, and like or negative and positive behavioral training like we use on a dog? Or is there something more? Are they psychic? They're your mana munchers for your world. So you're going to have to make some decisions. Like, do they only take out a magic that a wizard would use? Or do they take out both magic, eat both magic that is divine and a mage based? Or do they also take out psychic mana? That's a thing too. So it's like you got to think about that. Now I'm personally, I won't probably have them be taking out psychic mana because it's often that's a big difference in the magical kind of universe of what we'll call fantasy woo woo. Okay, and it kind of operates on its own. So, but it is still a decision you have to make, pro or con. What do you want to do? These all come down to your decisions. If you have domestic mana munchers, are they going to be smaller because they're domestic, or are they going to be larger because they're domestic? That can happen too. Look at horses. They can come as small as like something that's the size of like your Chihuahua. I've seen it, to something as big as a Shire horse. I mean, and everything in between. But wild horses tend to fall into a certain zone of size. You see what I'm saying? So, domestication can do weird things. It can make an animal smaller. It can make an animal bigger, depending on what the humans are doing. Often when they're first domesticated, they actually go down in size. And like more, they have to keep bringing in wild blood to up the size. So that's because they didn't really understand breeding all that great. And, you want to breed for controllability. So you don't have to use a whole lot of force and the animal isn't going crazy on you all the time, right? So you have to make that decision. And I wish I could give better advice on how you want to do that, but it really depends on your setting. Now, it does bring in some other ideas. For instance, the Wizard Guild might have non-magical people working for them as their enforcers, with the Mana Munchers doing the tracking and then getting their little magical goodie. So that is, something to think about. Are they like the lions in the pit, or are they more like your guard dog that's trained and isn't just going to bite somebody and it's taken care of and fed and all that? Where do you want them? How do you envision using them? There's lots of things that can be used, animals that can be used as deterrents, even regular ones. Like New Zealand eels are scary, man. A bunch of those in a moat might be worse than alligators. Or electric eels might be worse than alligators, You can really think outside the box with this kind of stuff. And when we've got all these magical, mythical creatures on top of it, I encourage you to think outside the box. How would they fit in your universe? And it doesn't matter if you're doing a fantasy universe or a sci-fi universe. So you're doing sci-fi and there is no woo-woo, let's say it's that kind of universe. Well, I don't need a Mana Muncher. Well, you rework them to, be a radiation muncher, and the thing has gotten aboard your ship, and it's, and your ship runs on these pellets that are radioactive, and it's eating all your pellets you need to feed the reactor so you can do faster than light travel, for example. So I'm putting that out there so you guys can think about how to use monsters like this. But it has to do with your setting, what you envision. Don't go too far into the weeds. Just figure out how you want to use it and then just go with it. And it will work out fine. It really will. So everybody have a great day. I hope that helped. And there's going to be more videos to follow on other things. Okay, bye.